Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Facilities in Focus podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on your journey through the internet today. We recently wrapped our first season covering emergency preparedness, and I know you are all anxious to hear what season 2 will be covering. I wonder if I can get our sound editor to add in a drum roll here. Probably not. If it happened, and that would be really fun. But anyways, our second season will cover all things technology and how it is impacting the facilities management industry. Technology is kind of an interesting topic within trades right now. We're told that trades are essentially technology-proof because there's no technology that can unclog a toilet yet. There's none that can put up a sheet of drywall or change a light bulb. That is all humans, baby. But we're also all hearing about AI and figuring out the best way it can work for us. And this is exactly what we're going to dive into this season. We'll return with bi-weekly episodes starting in June, and I'll be joined by a slew of top-notch guests like Greg Christensen from CMMS Radio, Mary Martin from Duke University Health, and Gavin Ventresca from Boeing. Just to name a few, we have even more great ones that I have not yet named. But now that I'm done with housekeeping items, this episode is going to be a little different than our others. I don't have a guest to interview today, but I wanted to give everyone a sneak peek of our upcoming technology season. So I asked Michael Kashuba, Shawn and Alex Carlson if they had any tech horror stories that they would like to share. And some of the stories were quite surprising, and you'll hear me gasp a lot. Technology has many perks, but it can also be the source of a lot of scary stories, as you're about to hear, and a lot of embarrassing moments. I, for one, have sent many text messages to the wrong person, but I think the scariest tech story I have is from, like 10 years ago now. I know, I was like a baby at that time. I'm just kidding. But it happened about 10 years ago. I was helping my friend babysit at night, and I was the only person awake in the house. And this toddler tablet starts to go off. And it wasn't an alarm or anything. It was like 1 in the morning, too. So it would be crazy if an alarm was going off anyways. But it was some type of game where the characters were laughing, and they were saying, "I see you. Come play with me." I almost tore out of that house. It was awful. There was also another time when my phone started loudly playing the Glee soundtrack during one of my classes in college, and that was particularly embarrassing. But technology is supposed to be our friend, and it's not our enemy, and as you will learn in this upcoming season, it is just another tool that we will have in our tool belt, and that is always great to have. But it can be fun. It can be funny. So, anyways, enough from me. Let's hear Alex Carlson's scary story.
There's always something. I'm not a social media person. Just there's some of the technology has just passed me by. But my kids are better with technology than I am in grade school. So I think one of the things that I would just say it's not necessarily like a funny thing, but I would say just something that comes to mind with technology and just talking about how you have to be process centric, making sure that you are doing everything with the end in mind. I think we've probably always been there with if you plug in something into your GPS and that's probably always a good example is you plug something into your GPS and it's like it ends up walking you all the way around something, or you drive around something to see that it was on your right the whole time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
That's so
I think,
annoying.
buried in your phone and looking from that perspective. And I think, when we talk about technology here in this space, it's the same type of thing. Is like you have to sometimes take a step back and say, where am I trying to go? Right? Because if I'm buried in my phone, or if I just look at the system that somebody gave me, you start seeing everything through the device or through the limits of the confines of the system, as opposed to taking a step back and say, oh, the building is right here when I'm walking around a downtown environment. I don't need to be buried in my phone. And so I think there's many times where that has happened. And I think I'm trying to be really aware right now, just as a human, as a parent, of saying like your kids really notice, people around you really notice how long a device takes your attention, and so
Yeah.
my kids draw pictures of us. Here's another funny thing: my kids will draw pictures, and and just be, oh, this is my dad. This is what he does, and he's funny, or he does this, or he does that, and I saw something a while back where it was not my child, but something that was out there, and it was to make you reflect on, are your kids going to draw you when they think of you with your phone in your hand?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so it's like that's where technology's great. Technology can really help you, but I think having the balance where you don't want to be seen as, I need this to be successful. You said this well in our discussion, and it's knowing that technology is something that you should have in the tool belt, but it's not your
mhm.
go-to, it's not your only tool, right? And
Right.
and I think right now, as a parent and spouse, I think that's one of the things where I don't want to be seen as the person that it's glued to, even for my job or other things. So because there have been many times where I've been buried in it and not seen, I'm going to walk into something and, on the street, or again, missing a building to the side of me. So those
Hmm.
types of things. One of my favorite shows, The Office, McKenna.
Yep.
There's that great scene where Michael has to follow the GPS into the pond,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
That comes to mind a lot for me. It's like you've got to have perspective with technology. So there you go.
Ooh. Even listening back to that one was tough. Shawn Black tells us the next scary story, and I do feel like I have to give a little insider info to this. Shawn and I were beefing. We were in a fight during this episode recording, and we were arguing whether or not AI will replace content creators. And after you hear his story, I need you to let me know your opinion on what you think about that matter. So now to Shawn.
Yeah, I've definitely had some embarrassing moments, even as recently as I'm rolling out. This is what I talk about oversight. As I was rolling out AI agents, I found that they would do things like your name here,
Oh.
which is an obvious, oh, thanks. Thanks for sending me a automated AI message. And you don't want that. I mean, we're trying to save time. We still want to be personal, and you program it to be very personal and write for you and your giving you your influence. But when it does things like that, that's bad. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was
Always a
embarrassing.
little, always a little embarrassing. And hey, that's why you need content creators. You need your copy editors to,
It's
to
true. Right now,
figure
I
that
need
out.
oversight. I need oversight for me, because someone needs to save me from myself, apparently.
Right. Okay, everyone, I have saved the scariest story for last. Let's hear from Michael Kashuba.
I don't know that we have had a whole lot of issues with our technology. Now, we have had our unidentified Amarillo object, which we still don't know what it is, but that was something that popped up about a year and a half, 2 years ago. There was a photo back behind our zoo of what we have referred to as an unidentified Amarillo object. It was some sort of being, individual, something back behind our zoo. So
Like a
that would
person?
we're not sure exactly what it was. If you search unidentified Amarillo object online, you'll see a picture of it. We were actually on international news. We were doing interviews with Inside Edition and all the different major news channels. But that was something technology-wise, the cameras picked it up. We haven't been able to identify what it was. So
And
feel free
nobody
to
has
go
like
take a look.
come, nobody has come to like try to identify it.
We've heard everything.
Do
We've
you
had
have
a
a
lot of
theory?
there's a lot of theories. Whether it's I think we've heard everything from Crash Bandicoot to Skinwalkers to, I mean, we've had a lot of interesting responses from our community. So you can go back. I know on I think it was our Facebook page, there was a lot of comments, a lot of guesses as to what it could be. But yeah, technology, we would have never got that picture if it hadn't been for the cameras that we had set out at the zoo. So, but
And
in
you
terms
don't
of it,
still have it, right? Like it's gone?
we don't know what it was. So
Ew,
again,
it sounds like a
you,
ghost.
You'll have to pull up the pictures, and then you might do a little digging on that. It's a very interesting picture.
Okay.
Um,
It
and
sounds
so
a little scary.
it was very interesting, and we still are not quite sure what it was. But again, from the mower standpoint, they've been super easy. The drones super easy. But technology-wise, that is something that got a lot of international news and a lot of questions and comments. So maybe not the traditional technology, but obviously it was pretty interesting.
All right. I very strongly encourage everyone to look up the unidentifiable Amarillo object. I looked it up after we stopped recording, and Michael heard me like shriek, squeal, whatever you want to hear or whatever you want to think. I did not like it. It is very truly creepy. You just have to see for yourself. But that is it for me, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to our Tech Scary Stories. And as a reminder, the second season of Facilities in Focus premieres on June 4th, so mark your calendars. I'll have another bonus episode coming out soon, but until then, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to the Facilities in Focus podcast. Facilities in Focus is a product of the facility market, which houses FacilitiesNet, building operating management, facilities maintenance decisions, and healthcare facilities today. Thank you to our sound and video editor, Paul Ellertson. Thank you to Morgan Johnson for designing our logo. Thank you to Dan Welton, Dave Lubach, Dan Hounsell, Jeff Warden, Jill McDermott, and everyone else at Trade Press Media Group. For comments, or if you are interested in being a guest on Facilities in Focus, please email us at fnpodcast@tradepress.com.